Well, hello, you beautiful people out there in pop culture land. You are listening to the Pop Top 5 podcast, and you are listening to this show with your two favorite hosts ever. That would be Chris McPeak and Annie Pruitt. Hello, Annie Pruitt.
Hello, Chris McPeak.
And a happy Saturday to you. What are you up to today?
Not a whole lot, just looking up stuff on the interwebs, and we went to go eat at a really cool place to watch some Kansas basketball today. So
very good. Yes, and your child will be headed there this fall. Is that correct?
That is a true statement. Yes.
That is the most exciting thing in the whole wide world. I friggin' love it.
Absolutely. Me too.
And I learned something today. We said lawyer, right? I learned something today about a lawyer character that I really like. And I guess I should wait and tell you when I talk about that person. Otherwise, I'm going to give all the secrets away. So yeah. So welcome to the show, everybody. We have started a new series. Annie came up with this concept. Annie typically comes up with most of the series, and they're really fun, and I love them. And so last week you heard the professionals series, and we talked about teachers. Today, Annie, we are talking about...
We're talking about lawyers.
Lawyers.
Yes.
And we don't typically hate lawyers. I guess that's probably not a very nice thing to say. There's some really great lawyer characters in popular culture out there. And I really needed for Annie to walk me through the teacher series last week to fully understand kind of where her brain was coming from. So it's not so much the movie about the teacher, it's the character who is the teacher.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we're going for. Okay, so see, now that I get that, this episode is going to be fucking rocking. Because, you know, I'm finally simpatico with you.
Fucking rocking, however, this one will be even better.
Yes. Just like you said. You guys, give it up for my sister Annie, because she is a smart cookie, that one is. Yes. She is. Okay, who goes first on this?
First. You have to go first.
I have to go first? I have to go first. Okay. All righty then. That's my best Jim Carrey impersonation, and it really sucks. So my number 5 on today's professional series Lawyers is going to be Sandy Stern from the 1988-89 movie Presumed Innocent, based on a book of the same name. Now, you might be asking me, Chris, if you're going with Presumed Innocent, why are you picking Sandy Stern and not Rosette K. Savage? And I have a very good answer for that. It's because Rusty Savage is on trial for most of this movie, and he doesn't actually practice law, but he made an incredible decision to hire Sandy Stern to defend him for this bogus murder charge. And if you have not seen this movie, I have to tell you, it is probably one of the top 3 things acting wise that Harrison Ford has ever done. And it is one of the great legal dramas of all time. I still watch this movie and I get goosebumps because there is an ending piece that just kind of slaps you right in the face. But what makes this movie so great is Sandy Stern and how he defends Rusty at the trial. And, you know, he twists some things around and he works every last bit of evidence and every last thing that the prosecution is bringing their way. It is just, it's exciting and it's dramatic and leaves you on the edge of your seat. And I'm just a huge fan of this movie, portrayed by Raul Julia, who is no longer with us, I believe, but is one of those, you know, fantastic supporting character actors who over the years has done lots of fantastic things. So, yep, that's my number 5.
Okay. I like that. That's not on my list, which I approve more.
Chris's lawyer.
My number 5, I'm going to go a little old school. I'm going to go with the lawyer played by Jimmy Stewart from Anatomy of a Murder, Paul Gibbler, can't remember how to pronounce his name. So the movie Anatomy of a Murder, Jimmy Stewart defends this man who's accused of murder because his wife is a, how do I say?
A drunk? A drunk and a hooker. No,
Yeah,
she's not a hooker.
she's a little rambunctious. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
She's kind of a hot mess.
It's a little bit of a hot mess, yeah. But the cast of the movie is fantastic. Of course, you got very very young George C. Scott in there, but James Stewart, you either love him or you hate him because he's always Jimmy Stewart, no matter what role he's playing. But the character of the lawyer in the movie is 100% about finding justice.
Mm-hmm.
I've only watched it a couple times, which is rare because most of the movies I love, I watched multiple times, but it's a great film. Very, very young Lee Remick, gorgeous
Yes.
Lee. But it's a great movie. And quite frankly, it's a really great courtroom drama. And yeah, totally recommend it. Otto Preminger film. So kind of, it's at that, level. So
Yes.
that's 5. There you go.
I
Stewart.
flirted with putting him on my list. I've seen that movie maybe 4 or 5 times, but I don't know. I don't know why this gives me the giggles every time I think about the fact that Ben Gazzara is in that movie and he's also in Roadhouse. But I don't know if you remember, there was a kid that kind of hung out with the people that lived in the honors complex with me. And his name was Sean, and he was a bit of a comedian, and he always made these crazy jokes about Ben Gazzara and Florence Henderson behind the dumpster outside the Denny's. I don't know if you remember this or not, but when
That totally rings a bell. Yes.
any Ben Gazzara featured film, I'm like, oh yeah, Sean
Yeah.
has this bit about that. And it just makes me giggle. Okay. So number 4 to me, yes?
Yes.
My number 4 is a film we've spoken on the show about before. I don't know that you were hosting that day, but I'm going to go with Sir Wilfrid Robards, played by Charles Lawton in Witness for the Prosecution.
Sir Wilfrid Robards.
Sir Wilfrid Robards. And this is a Agatha Christie play that turned into a Billy Wilder film. And this is a movie that I've easily seen close to 100 times. Like in the list of the movies that I can just go over and over again, I can put it on no matter what day it is, and I'm just happy to sit there and listen to all the voices. But he is an exceptional character. It's very funny, but there's some fantastic sort of surprises around the corners and some sneaky people doing some pretty crazy things. The playoff back and forth between Sir Wilfrid and his nurse, and I can't remember her character name, Miss Plimsoll. Miss Plimsoll is played by Elsa Lanchester, who was Charles Lawton's wife in real life. So the two of them playing off each other in this way that is just all sass and sarcasm is hilarious. And even more so when like, yeah, they're married. This is just who they are. But I love his sarcasm, but I love how protective he is of his defendant. And I love where the disappointment comes out when he learns some of the things that he learns. And it ends like it began. Like, okay, we've got another thing in the hopper here that we have to take care of. It's one of Billy Wilder's best movies, and everything about this movie is delightful. So I would have Sir Wilfrid represent me every day and twice on Sunday, because he lives for the law, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you.
All right, I gotta add that to my list. I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh, it's a beaut. It is so great. You will laugh out loud, and then you will be like, "Oh, damn it! I can't believe that person did that." Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So my number 4, totally different type of movie. I'm going to go with the lawyer Kevin Lomax, played by Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, good one.
This movie, so Keanu Reeves gets kind of recruited by Al Pacino to be this, defense attorney. And as it turns out, Al Pacino is, in fact, Mr., the angel Lucifer himself, the devil himself. But I will say this. So if you're a fan of Keanu Reeves or not, I don't care. I adore the man, inside out, external, internal, everything he does on screen, off screen.
All of the things.
Saint. I fucking love Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
So having said that, after he did this, you can see how much he learned about acting from Al Pacino just working on this film, from the ability to do the silent scream, the absolute agony and the anger and the wretchedness. He learned, I swear to God, everything he learned about acting he got from Al Pacino by doing this film. So it's a great movie, and he just nails it as this, this up and coming defense attorney from the South. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but he basically ends where he started and and takes a radical change. I'm going to say that because I really don't want to do a spoiler, because this is a great movie and a lot of people have not seen it, of this generation. Maybe, I don't know. It's fucking great. And Keanu Reeves as a lawyer, just, he's slimy enough to be that like defense attorney that's in it for the money, but then he also wants to do good in the world. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel you. Yes.
Yeah. So he's hot enough to be bad, but he's just clean enough to be like worthy. It's just, yeah, he's one of those. He's one of those.
And you know what? You
Yeah.
start fucking with Charlize and there's going to be problems. Like, doesn't Charlize Theron play his wife, and they kind of make her crazy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It has been a while since I have seen that, but it's so funny. The second you said Kevin Lomax, I knew exactly who you were talking about. And yes. Oh my God. That is a great choice. Fan-frigging-tastic. Okay. So I'm going to share that I did deviate from movies for both today's episode and the next one that we're going to record, frankly, because I found it hard to find a lot of movie characters in these professions that I identified with and felt connected to. So for a couple of these, I do pull from television. So for that, I partially apologize, but not completely. So my number 3, I'm going to go with the character of Patty Hughes as portrayed by Glenn Close in Damages. And this is a series I think started on FX and then maybe found its way to DirecTV. I don't exactly remember, but I remember being so jazzed up about this show. And when I still had DVR and still watched things, in real time, I'm using, air quotes here. That was a show I would DVR. And it features Rose Byrne is the associate. And, what, Annie?
I love Rose Byrne.
Yes. Well, this show is pretty hardcore, and Patty Hughes is one of those I'm just not going to say defense attorney, but she stands up for the little people and she's big on the class action lawsuits. But I mean, who are we fooling? Like, this woman is totally in it for herself. But I think the reason that I like her character is because she is so flawed, but there's reasons behind why she does some of the things that she does. She's a pretty strong family woman, and she has some great people that work with her and around her that she's sort of lifted up. Like, she's a great mentor until she's not. But this is a lawyer who really digs her teeth into everything. And I do really like Glenn Close. There are very few things that she's done that I haven't liked. The woman is way honking overdue for an Academy Award. She had 2 Emmys for this character on Damages. Yeah. And it is just really an intense, tight, semi-heavy show with lots of twists and turns and fantastic supporting characters. Martin Short shows up on the show, Campbell Scott, and the guy that plays, I'm going to forget his name now, the guy that plays Wags on Billions, which is now officially my favorite television show of all time, has a small supporting role in this series. So I'm going to go, and also because too, I was digging hard to find, the last episode we did was pretty much all male characters. I think you had one female, and I was like, we got to get some ladies up in here because our ladies work really, really hard in these professions too. It's just that Hollywood hasn't seen fit to give them a lot of room to breathe outside of your television. Well, this is a lawyer job. When we talk about the doctors, I'm really going to get on my soapbox. But anyway, that's my number 3 is Patty Hughes in Damages.
All right, so I tried. It was really hard to keep TV doctors off of this list, or I'm sorry, TV lawyers off of this. So, the Emily and David and Keith kept giving me ideas. I'm like, no, that's TV. I can't use it. I can't use it.
Well, I'm sorry. I broke the rule early. I apologize for that, but then I kind of don't. So if you need to make some switcheroos.
No, we'll do a separate TV series of TV doctors and TV lawyers, and then it'll be a whole new story. So now that I like, okay, so Emily's standing by because I always like get my family consensus because like they're going to help me remember what my favorite shit is, right? So my number 3 for lawyer, my number 3 lawyer is going to be Fletcher Reed, Jim Carrey from Liar Liar. This pen is blue. So that movie was so cute because it's also a really, really great reminder of all of those workaholics that forget you actually have a job to be a parent too, right? Yep. It was so sweet. And I love that movie. I fucking love Jim Carrey. He's amazing. Did you want to chime in on this, by the way? Yeah.
Come on over, Em. Come on over, girlfriend.
Yeah, we're watching the movie in my comedy appreciation class, and we barely just started it, but I already love it just because of like, you know, I feel like if it was the opposite kind of movie, it would be like To Kill a Mockingbird because that's the kind of vibes it gives me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you please pull that girl on the camera for crying out loud?
Yeah. She just rejuvenated the blueness of her hair.
Hello, college student.
Yes. So
you have to come back later when we're visiting so I can catch up with you. But the hair looks great. I love it.
So anyway, for the premise, you know, Jim Carrey being a lawyer and the son makes the wish that I wish my daddy never lied, basically. And Jim Carrey has to go in the courtroom the next day and he can't tell a lie and comedy ensues. But what's
hilarious.
One of the best things about that movie, though, is the outtakes with him and Swoosie Kurtz when they're yelling at each other. She screams. They're yelling back and forth, and she yells, "Overactor!" And they just like have a absolute breakdown. So the outtakes are just as good as the movie itself. So yes, absolutely. My number 3 is going to have to be Fletcher Reed, Jim Carrey, Liar Liar.
All right. Yeah. Well, since we're speaking of comedy, then let me pull a movie character back into the mix. Okay. My number 2 is going to be Vinny Gambini, also known as my cousin Vinny. That's my best New York accent ever. So first of all, let's just start off with this. Who saw the trailer and thought, oh my God, this is going to be the dumbest movie ever? And this is like coming not too far off of Joe Pesci's Oscar for Goodfellas. So who's going to buy this? And isn't that the Karate Kid? Like, what is he doing in this movie? But everything about this movie is hilarious from line 1 to the end of the movie. And it is just put together so good. And by the time we're done, Vinny Gambini has become quite the talented lawyer. He spends the night in jail. He gets put in contempt of court every single day. But, you know, he brings his delightful girlfriend, who's played by Marissa Tomei, who got the Academy Award for this movie. And her knowledge of tires and cars is eventually what gets Ralph Macchio and his buddy off the hook. But everything about this movie is hilarious. But we get to, you know, kind of on the underplay of this is that, you know, somebody who took a really long time to finish law school and pass the bar, like having his lawyer debut and getting a true crash course in criminal law, like in the moment with, you know, Herman Munster sitting up there on the bench. That is hilarious between grits and utes and all of the things. It's just everything about this movie is hilarious and fun. But, you know, I would pay Vinny Gambini to defend me in a murder rap. I absolutely would, especially if I got stuck in the South. So anyway, that's my number 2 is my cousin Vinny.
So I so badly wanted to put that one that like it was definitely, and that was Fred Gwynn's last movie, by the way.
Oh, was it? I didn't realize
Yeah,
that. She's
absolutely.
like Fred Gwynn in my
Uh,
dream.
between that and Pet Cemetery, those are my two favorites that he's been in. So yeah, so that's one of the movies now. Like if it's on like TBS or some whatever movie channel,
Yeah.
we'll put it on and we'll leave it on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Toss the remote, as Doug would say.
yes, I wore this ridiculous thing for
Thank you.
you. Yes, uh, he's adorable. I do love that movie, and it is sweet as can be.
Yes.
Okay, so my number two, this is probably going to be on your list, but if it's just as much of I love the lawyer as much as I love the prosecutor, as much as I love the defendant. I really love the defendant the most. So that prefacing, you probably know what this is, but I'm going to go Martin Vale, played by Richard Gere, Primal Fear.
Nice.
Really like one of the great.
Annie, I did not even consider this one, but oh my God.
I'm glad. I'm glad. So I get to talk. We can both talk about it. But
Good
one of the greatest courtroom dramas, and and honestly, like Martin Vale is only good because Edward Norton is such an amazing person that he has to defend. And so Martin Vale being this, high priority, or like what's the word I'm looking for? He's notorious.
He's pretty arrogant and full of himself.
He's high profile. That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
And his previous relationship with the district attorneys or the assistant district attorney, played by Laura Linney, who's hot, and she is tough as nails.
Mm-hmm.
I love her just as much. It's almost like a dual love of like two lawyers of that movie, because she's hard as nails and I freaking love her. And the two of them have they have a shared misunderstanding of the defendant. And that I don't want to do a spoiler, because if you've never seen Primal Fear, there's a twist. That's all I'm going to say. There's a twist. Yeah, it's quite astounding.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge Richard Gere fan,
mm-hmm.
But I loved him in this movie. I thought he absolutely nailed it. So there's number two, Martin Vale.
I could not agree with you more. And I'm kind of a little ashamed of myself that I didn't think about him, but I'm kind of glad now that I didn't, because that means we don't have overlap, or at least we don't think we have overlap. But regardless, like everything about this movie is exceptional. And yes, Laura Linney actually makes me angry for portions of the film, although it's, she's sassy and sarcastic, the whole thing, like, oh, I know, it was Roy.
And she is so smart and professional and hot.
Mm-hmm. And I love Frances McDormand in there as the psychologist, in the same year that she won her Oscar for Fargo. So this was all 1996. I always felt like Edward Norton got totally robbed for the Oscar, but that's okay. Like, his day will come. And Cuba Gooding Jr. can't get a good role to save his life anymore. And Edward Norton's doing okay. So what goes around comes. Very good. I love it. That's a great lawyer. Okay, so I have an honorable mention.
Okay.
And part of me is kind of embarrassed that he's not fully on the list, but I had to work some girls in here. And I apologize. I kind of broke the rules with the TV thing, but my honorable mention is going to be Lieutenant Daniel Kaffee in A Few Good Men. And for that matter, you could pick anybody from that movie who has a major part other than our two defendants, and because lawyers like abound in this movie. But this is a great performance from Tom Cruise, and it's a turn, if you will, from somebody who has never tried in court. Like, he's always pled his people out, and he doesn't really believe in his defendants very much until we get further down the road and he learns some of the things that he learns. But along the way, you've got, which I think this is actually Demi Moore's best performance in her life. Demi Moore is not what I would call a great actress. She's a great movie star, but I think she shines in this. And my God, Kevin Pollak, good Lord, you can't go wrong with him. But this is almost a coming of age in the law world. for Daniel Kaffee, whose dad
Mhm.
was, you know, a big deal. And he would so much rather work out with his softball team than actually be in court. But, you know, Joe Galloway, played by Demi Moore, kind of goads him into getting into the courtroom and standing up for these two young Marines. And the result is fantastic. We're talking about Aaron Sorkin's play and his screenplay, and everything about this movie is just fantastic. So that's my honorable mention, is Daniel Kaffee.
Well, that's awesome because my honorable mention was going to be all of the lawyers from A Few Good Men.
I love it.
So you talked about Kaffee. I'll talk about Weinberg. Weinberg was probably my favorite. So Sam Weinberg, played by
Yes.
Kevin. So, and it's so funny because Demi Moore is all about defending the Marines, but Kevin Pollak, so aka Sam Weinberg,
Yes.
he sees it from the bullied perspective because himself was probably bullied, you know, growing up. So that whole scene between him and Demi Moore of why do you like them so much?
Yes.
Why do you hate them so much? Was probably one of the greatest scenes in the movie. But my favorite scene is the one. So Kevin Bacon, another great lawyer,
Yes.
is the exchange when Kevin Bacon does his examination of the witness, and then Kevin and then Tom Cruise does a cross of with, and it's Noah Wyle on the stand. And
Yes, Dr. John Carter himself.
Right? Yeah, and it's like, well, that's not in the manual. Well, if you don't know how to get to the chow hall, how do you eat? And Noah Wyle, well, I just follow the crowd. So yeah, just great courtroom drama. Period. And everybody that plays a lawyer in that film is fantastic. Probably the one of the greatest of all of their careers.
Yes.
Their great performances, even though Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak, and Demi Moore were in supporting roles.
Mhm.
They're their greatest performances of their screen time.
Yeah.
So that was my honorable mention, was basically the cast of A Few Good Men.
It is a crime that Jack Nicholson is the one person that came out of that with an Oscar nomination. But I mean, you can't, you know, can't argue with Jack being on that in that mix. But you know, if the Emmys were the same, if the Oscars were the same as the Emmys, then everybody on that show would have been nominated in the supporting role.
Absolutely.
And that would have been just fine with me.
All right. So now it's number one to you.
It is number one to me, and I'm going back to television, so I apologize, but I am going to what I think is my favorite legal drama of all time and my favorite law characters of all time, regardless, like movies or TV. I'm talking about the partnership-ish of Alicia Florrick and Will Gardner from A Good Wife. So this show was mid 2000s, I guess. And Juliana Margulies, love this woman, plays a wife of a former, what do they call him, state's attorney in the city of Chicago, who slept with somebody else and has a big downfall and goes to prison. And now she, a lawyer in her own right, who has spent the last 10 years raising her kids, has to go back to work because dad is in prison. And she finds herself at the law firm of Will Gardner, who was her lover in law school. But Will Gardner is played by Josh Charles, and he is the one that went to the University of Kansas before he went back to Baltimore and did some acting school stuff. So the drama and the between the relationship between the two of them and the way Alicia works herself up into the firm and becomes very talented, very sought after. But this show is such a great television show. And as soon as I watch the final season, I can determine whether or not it goes up there with Billions and 24 and the other and Succession, the other shows that I swoon about so much. But you know, I loved Juliana Margulies in ER. She was great on that show, but she absolutely is exceptional in The Good Wife. And Will Gardner, along, you know, Josh Charles. If you think, most people close their eyes and think of Josh Charles and they think of Noel Knowles from Dead Poets Society. But every time I think of Josh Charles, I go to this television show and Will Gardner, and I think, like, if you ever do, I know you're not going to do the show with me, but the whole like movie or TV characters that would be on on the hall pass list, Will Gardner is definitely somebody that I would like to hang out with and, do the nasty.
Yeah.
So anyway, that this show is fantastic and the two of them are great. And I could throw Christine Baranski on here too, because she's also on that show and she got a spin-off show from this, but that's where I'm going. So, yep. Alicia
Okay.
and Will from The Good Wife.
So I have not seen that show, but I will. Okay, so my number one, I'm going very classic. I'm going back to the classics. I started with the classics with Jimmy Stewart, and I'm going to end with the classics with
Atticus Finch.
and I gotta go, Atticus Finch.
Yep.
To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a great courtroom drama movie, but the lawyer himself, Atticus Finch, you're assuming he's a widower because you never really find out what happened to the mother of the kids. But he has to defend and volunteers to defend. Oh, I gotta look up the name now. What is his name? He has to defend. Oh, I feel bad.
African American gentleman, yes?
Yes, yeah. Tom Robinson. Sorry, oh my God, what's wrong with me? He has to defend Tom Robinson and the entire county. The movie is set it's 100% tells the story of the Deep South in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And what's so great about Gregory Peck is he has to have this balance of trying to also not only be like represent the be true to his faith as a lawyer and honor what a lawyer stands for, and also be the example as a parent and a father to his kids. So the other reason I love this character, the lawyer character, is because we also saw To Kill a Mockingbird on stage.
Oh,
Which we got to see John Boy. John Boy is Richard Thomas from the Waltons.
The Waltons.
Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway. So I've got to see both the screen and the Broadway version of it. So, and what was also cool about seeing the Broadway show is the lady who played Scout in the movie was on stage for the To Kill a Mockingbird touring show.
No.
So that was cool. I got to see Scout as an old lady.
Amazing.
Yes. But as a lawyer, so this is the top favorite lawyers. So Atticus Finch, not only, integrity as standing up for and upholding what he believes, he's fighting for the law and for justice, 100%. And also at the same time, trying to raise two obnoxious and crazy, hell-raising Southern kids. And my heart goes out to, I don't know how do you do that? how does a man do that?
Well, you channel Gregory Peck. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you rely on Boo, and God bless Boo Radley. So that's that. So Boo Radley is my other favorite character. He's my second favorite character from that film, played by the beautiful Robert Duvall.
I did not realize that.
Oh,
I have not seen this movie. This is one of those movies that's, on the AFI top 100 forever that I'm like, okay, I need to make this a priority.
Okay, we're watching. We're gonna. I don't care if we have to do a watch party on Netflix. We're watching that because Atticus Finch is the greatest on-screen lawyer of all time. Period.
He's also number one on the AFI list of top heroes when they did their 50 heroes and villains thing. He's number one on that list. So yeah, a few years ago, when I was doing the 50 things before my 50th birthday list, now turned into the 60 things to do before my 60th birthday, I wanted to choose a couple of stories that were novels that were turned into film. And I wanted to read the book and then watch the movie and have a comparison piece.
Yeah.
And that was one of the books that's there on the list. So okay. I kind of feel like, well, maybe I need to dig into that book pretty soon and then I can watch the movie and we'll do that thing. So yeah, that's that story.
Well, I'll say this, it's hard because the book goes into such, obviously, there's so much more detail in the book
Sure.
because you can only put so much in 2 hours of film. So yeah, that's one that you could watch before or after you read the book, and you're still going to have the same experience.
Okay. Well, then anytime you want to rock a watch party, I'm ready to be down with that. And I think you still owe me the new Exorcist movie watch party experience.
I do. That's another.
We have discussed this at length.
That's another podcast. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's count them down. I'll go first. My honorable mention in the professional lawyers show is Lieutenant Daniel Caffey, and then 5-1 is Sandy Stern, presumed innocent, Sir Wilfred Robarts and witness for the prosecution, Patty Hughes in damages, Vinnie Gambini in My Cousin Vinny, and Alicia Florrick, Will Gardner in The Good Wife.
I love it. I love that we didn't have any overlap except for our. So my HN, all of the lawyers from A Few Good Men, and then 5-1. Jimmy Stewart playing Paul Giebler in Anatomy of a Murder. Keanu Reeves playing Kevin Lomax, Devil's Advocate. Jim Carrey as the notorious Fletcher Reed from Liar. Richard Gere playing Martin Vale, Primal Fear. And finally, the greatest lawyer on screen of all time, Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm dropping my mic.
You need to drop your mic. I think that is very fair. Because I cheated a little bit and pulled TV into the mix, but you kind of kicked my ass on this one.
That's okay.
I'm gonna give you that. So I'm just gonna tell you now that the the Doctor series, I pulled TV in too. So if we need to take a quick break, we can do that. But regardless, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Top 5 podcast. And you know what? We really want to know what you think of our lawyers. So you know where to send an email, and maybe you don't because you haven't. And that email address is hello@thetop5podcast.com. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear all of your thoughts about all of our picks and who are we missing, because I'm sure someone out there has an opinion of someone we're missing. So feed that our way. And in the meantime, Annie and I will catch up with you on the next fantastic episode.
Awesome.
Okay, bye.